Hello everyone, this is Crota coming at you, giving you game 1 in a series between Blue versus Foggy. Foggy spawning under the name SK Hot as the red Night Elf here on Amazonia, bottom left hand side of the map. Meanwhile, we see Blue spawning as the blue human on the top right. Human versus Night Elf in this 1v1 matchup as things get underway, and I'm really looking forward to casting these games for you and seeing how the game has developed and really moved on since I guess the days of Sky and I guess Sky and Yumiko, which were the big names before in the previous season. It really feels like, oh my gosh, who's the name of the undead player that I want to be talking about? I'm sure you guys know the name of the undead player. I just, for some reason, his name is escaping me right now. Undead seems to be making a really big comeback, and human players seem to be going to the wayside just a little bit. Yeah, there are still the standard strategies that the human player can just use a larger economy in order to come out with the victory, but if you end up feeding your opponent more and more experience with the death of siege engines, all of a sudden you're dealing with level 6 Death Knights, level 6 Liches, and even though the ultimates on those particular heroes are not that threatening, level 3 Unholy Aura is just an absolute nightmare to deal with. And I don't even remember the last time I saw Death and Decay, so I don't know, what would a level 6 Lich grab as their ultimate ability, or their 6th level ability? Would it be Death and Decay? Maybe. We'll have to take a look at that anyways. Let's go ahead and see how things are unfolding here. It is going to be a Warden coming in from SK Hot or Foggy. Meanwhile, it is going to be an Archmage coming in from Blue. No surprise there, as the human player does need that Archmage if he wants any real chance at leading a semi-decent caster army. Now, as the Archmage comes out here, he's going to go ahead and drop a Water Elemental after the Renegade Wizard purges a Militia, and then it looks like he's going to be aggroing even more creep. So that Water Elemental really going to be doing double duty in terms of absorbing damage. That Archmage just wandering around here, picking up Claws of Attack +6, and he's obviously doing this because he doesn't want Demon Hunter harassment. However, little does he know that he's really going up against a Warden, and that Warden is also doing some very, very fast creeping, taking down these Apprentice Wizards off over here. Now, a tier 1 and tier 2 item being dropped. A tier 1 permanent item, those Cloak of Shadows, Slippers of Agility, things of that nature. Claws of Attack plus, I believe Circlets of Nobility are tier 2 items. I'll have to double check that. But the Archmage is still wandering around here, and we are going to be looking at a very, very fast... Oh, wow, what is... a very, very low hit point Wisp, just making it right there. Meanwhile, the Warden is going to be doing a little bit of push, tries to take down, and does get a Shadow Strike off on the Archmage. Shadow Strike and Fan of Knives, a very, very damage heavy, mana heavy of opening coming in from this Warden. This Warden is going to be running out of mana rather quickly. The Archmage being forced to hide in the backfield and purposely shadow melds so that the Warden cannot find him. That is a brilliant strategy. That Cloak of Shadows being the ultimate item right now, really throwing things for a bit of a loop, as the Warden now just trying to take down some of these peasants. All right, 1 peasant down, 2 peasants down. Arcane Tower now being added, and the problem is that this Warden is not giving up at all, being able to take down another unit there. The Warden perhaps trying to take down or doing another Shadow Strike onto the Archmage. Not going to be able to, though, as we should be dropping another Water Elemental. Here you go. There is that Water Elemental, and are we going to perhaps see a little bit of a chase? Oh, Scroll of Town Portal now coming through, and it looks like the Shadow melds will be done in time, and it looks like Blue will just have to lick his wounds a little bit. Perhaps build an Arcane Vault, and build an Arcane Vault he should right here, and then start building a Town Hall. And the Town Hall is going to be very well protected with those 2 Arcane Towers, but we could perhaps see some Ancient Protectors walking over in just a bit once we are finished with this Hunter's Hall. Back over here, Archmage picking up selling the Claws of Attack +6, selling the Scroll of the Beast and the Cloak of Shadows, picking up Boots of Speed and Dust of Appearance instead. Still no real healing, though, so the Archmage is going to be a little bit on the fragile side, especially with a Warden that is already at level 3 and with a decent amount of mana. Level 2 Shadow Strike is going to tear through this Archmage alive. Pretty much, as we're looking at the Footmen and now all the other units now making their way off to the north. If the Arcane Tower can drain the mana of that Archmage, drain the mana of that Warden, Shadow Strike just beyond the range. Boots of Speed making a very big difference there, as the Warden could not catch up. Panda now out on the field, as we are still sitting at Town Hall. Blue needs to make a bit of a play here, and he needs to do it very quickly. This Archmage cannot survive by himself, and there is the Panda down over here. There's some archers. There's a Water Elemental drop, as the archers are just going to be pelting that Archmage now. So far, we're looking for that Warden. I don't see that Warden anywhere. The Warden is back over here, in fact. Not going to be able to get there in time, as more militia being brought over. No, don't really know what Blue's strategy is there. Not quite sure why he didn't use the Scroll of Town portal as the Shadow Strike was coming towards him. He pretty much knew he couldn't outrun it, so he could have saved himself at least 150 damage and not even have been targeted by that Shadow Strike, which is going to put him somewhere in the 80 hit point range. Very, very low, as that Arcane Vault now being built. All right, Blue needs to get this Arcane Vault up quickly. He needs to get to level 3 on this Archmage as well. Level 2 Water Elementals not going to be enough. Not quite sure what... the Footman actually came in here and was able to take down one Troll Trapper, getting level 3, but this is also giving more experience to the Warden, and more importantly, the Panda, which is now at level 2. Breath of Fire is going to be a very big problem, and I think Blue just is not going to have enough gas in the tank to fight back against this army. You can take a look. Archmage there healing up, using a Clarity Potion, trying to get back stronger. And the longer the game goes, the better, as Blue does have this expansion, but the Panda is at level 2, the Warden is at level 3. They're going to have a fair amount of mana. Fan of Knives, Breath of Fire, all up against a tier 1 human player who doesn't have Spellbreakers. That is just a massive amount of AoE damage for all of those melee units, and they're going to simply fall over if it comes to that. All right, it looks like the Warden dropped a couple of items. Circlet of Nobility, Gauntlets of Ogre Strength. Gonna go ahead and pick them back up to 315 mana. Now down over here, also setting up a Tree of Life. So Foggy is making sure that even if the game does go long, he is not too far behind. All right, let's take a look at this. One Footman down to 28 hit points. Shadow Strike on one of those units. It looks like, Shadow Strike will take down one Footman. Warden takes down the other. And the Warden now sitting at level 3. Oh, are we going to see Abolish Magic? No, we are not. The Dryad somehow poisoning a Water Elemental. Not quite sure how you could poison a Water Elemental. If you poison a Water Elemental, wouldn't the Water Elemental just do more damage to any biological thing? Anyways, let's go ahead and see how things unfold here. A Water Elemental is going to scout all of this out, down to 105 hit points. It looks like it could get taken down. Warden, I believe, got some experience off of that. And now, scarily enough, the Panda is also at level 3. See, I can make up words too. Now, meanwhile, back over here, Archmage, sitting at level 3, does have invisibility. And invisible Archmage. Now, perhaps... what is he going to really do? Try to drop Water Elementals? Try to put pressure? That's all I can really imagine him doing right now. Perhaps trying to stop this Tree of Life, but there's already a Warden down here, so this Warden is going to keep track of this Tree of Life and make sure it gets constructed. Meanwhile, the Panda, sitting at level 3, also has Drunken Haze. Gonna pick up a Replenishment Potion, and that's exactly what he was looking for. Replenishment Potion on the Panda, and the Panda is gonna be able to take this down here in just a second. All right, there is that Replenishment Potion there. Just getting a lot of mana, but more important, hit points now, as well as it is relatively low. Warden feeling confident enough to back off, knowing that the Tree of Life is going to have fortified armor here in just a second. Archmage may try and stop the entangling of this gold mine, but it's not going to really amount to very much of anything. You can see there is that Archmage now. It could drop a level 2 Water Elemental and then just constantly try and put pressure here. Why isn't he dropping a Water Elemental yet? Then teleporting back off to the north. All right, Shadow Strike onto those Peasants. Peasants gonna... what? Nope. poison a guy to death. However, it looks like the Shadow Strike is going to finish off one of those units, as we are now looking at the Warden making its way in. There's a Fan of Knives dealing a little bit more damage. Water Elemental Archmage going to try and take down this Entangled Goldmine. Staff of Teleportation back off to the north has to happen quickly, as we see damage is adding up. Goblin Shredder is now down. Panda, Warden just hanging off to the north here, clearing out Blue's army, and Blue pretty much has no army left. 24 over 48 supply. Pretty much not going to be able to do anything. Picks up a Naga Sea Witch as a hero. So Naga Sea Witch Archmage trying to stop this expansion, but this isn't going to do very much of anything. The archers are now in here as well, taking a lot of piercing damage, and there is a Fan of Knives Breath of Fire taking down pretty much every single peasant, and that is just a horrible, this is a horrible way to go. And you're just sitting there walking gold between a gold mine and a town hall. You see a panda, he comes up to you, blows on you, and you're on fire, and then all of a sudden you get stabbed to death, or a whole bunch of flying knives are being thrown at you, and those peasants just absolutely getting like bloodied into the ground. So yeah, very, very bad day to be a peasant here on Amazonia. 27 over 48, 28 over 48 compared to 53 over 60. The majority of Blue's armies is dead, or is now making their best impersonation of Halloween decorations, just laying themselves on the ground there. All of those peasants are just gonna fall apart. Pandas at level 4, Wardens at level 4, and at this point, you know it is GG. There's not much that Blue can do. Foggy is gonna definitely take game number 1. Staff of Teleportation makes its way down. Warden is at level 4. However, it does not have all that much mana, so not going to be able to stop that Archmage. Meanwhile, Naga Sea Witch now slithering back off to the north. Archmage now getting the benefit of some additional priests, but this is going to be a 1 base against 2 bases in favor of the Night Elf instead of in favor of the human. That is just going to put things in even more of a perspective. I've seen human players with 2 bases going up against a Night Elf and losing. I don't think I've ever seen a human player going up against a Night Elf player with 2 bases and lose. This is just something that doesn't happen. 54 over 60 supply compared to 36 over 60. More farms now being built. Spellbreakers being added. Naga Sea Witch being used to try and finish off. As here we go, there are some mortar teams that help deal with those dryads. Dryads taking a lot of damage from those fragmentation, or just the not fragmentation charge, just the mortar damage on all those unarmored units, or the siege damage. But it's still not going to be doing very much of anything. All right, Naga Sea Witch taking a bit of damage. Shadow Strike taking an additional 30 damage per attack. Dryads trying to finish off another mortar team. It looks like the mortar team will launch 1 volley before heading off to the north. Fan of Knives, Breath of Fire, and it is already down. That is pretty much going to be the game. Foggy losing, or Foggy winning game 1. Blue losing game 1 in this series here on Amazonia, and we'll see what unfolds next, as the GG has to be coming in. Yeah, everyone knows that it is going to be a GG already. There's not much that can be done, and there is the GG from Blue. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed game 1. Please stay tuned for game number 2.